spare parts.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
That was actually one, I did Matthew's list first, but spare parts would have also been on mine if I...
And then from that, I listened to a couple, and you know, for years I'd buy the magazine, or the Doctor Who magazine, and you know, they'd have a disc in them occasionally that was pushing that.
Right.
And I always looked at it as like, well, this ain't really, you know, what I would consider true Doctor Who. Well, after I got to listen to some of them, I enjoyed them.
And they work hard to try and keep the continuity as much as they can, remembering that Big Finish often forged this ground first, and then the TV series has to decide whether they're going to follow that or not.
And by and large,
spare parts was the basic idea. It was actually before Big Finish was Big Finish. They made a version of that, and Jubilee. And both of these went on to contribute to the most recent series with Bill.
Spare Parts has actually technically been loosely adapted for TV, not once but twice.
Right.
Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel, the germ for that is Spare Parts. Mickey, in fact, calls himself a spare part to the 10th Doctor at one point, which is a in-joke back to this story.
Right.
But you can really see its influence on World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls.
Right. And so, and that audio originally came out, well over a
2002.
decade. 2002. So well over a decade ago, and it's still influencing modern Doctor Who. And Jubilee by Rob Shearman was his original basis of the script that eventually became Dalek in the first Chris Eccleston series.
Yes.
The only Chris Eccleston series.
Yes.
But that's, so you listen to it, it's very different than what ended up on TV, but it is, you can tell it's there.
The basic idea is there.
It's a smidge more graphic sometimes.
Well, that's also the other thing about audio drama as well, is that it, because it's basically, the way Big Finish does it, it's basically TV and cinema without the pictures. But because you have to use your imagination to create the visuals, it's going to be far more horrific and gory than it ever would be on screen.
Right. There have been several times where it's like, oh, I got to turn that off. That's too much.
Yes.
Also, my favorite thing though is they can, because they have essentially the unlimited budget of your imagination. They can put lines in scripts like, "Oh look, 1,000 elephants charging over the hill, each one with individually tailored outfits." You just have to say it. You don't have to.
It's a lot easier to create an army of Daleks on audio than it is on TV.
Yes. Nick Briggs, he's going to end up with a split personality. Anyway, so I wanted to run down some of Matthew's top 10, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll talk about my top 10. But give us a few words about why you love this one. Now, these are not in any, I don't assume
they're not really in any, I mean, if I had to pick just a Big Finish audio that is my absolute favorite of all time, I'm on a desert island and I can only have one Big Finish audio. This might be it. This is main range release number 49, Master with Sylvester McCoy and Jeffrey Beavers playing the Master. One of the sort of big surprises about Big Finish is not necessarily, when they haven't gone back and recast, they found actors who got to play the roles on TV once or twice and never really got the chance to shine. Jeffrey Beavers played the Master in...
He played the Fried Egg Master.
Yes.
In the time.
Well, no, Keeper of Traken.
Oh, sorry, Keeper.
In Keeper of Traken for all of about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And when...
Did a good job.
Yeah, and Anthony Ainley didn't want to come back to play the part before he passed away in 2002. So they said, we'll get Beavers back in. And this is one of the first audios he did. In the lead up to the 40th anniversary, they did a trilogy of stories that were really kind of exploring the psychology and who these big Doctor Who villains were. And Master was the last of the trilogy. It's a fantastic story sort of exploring who this character is, his relationship with the Doctor, and it's got maybe Sylvester McCoy's best ever Doctor Who performance as the second Doctor.
I agree, and I would also mention that Philip Maddock, one of my favorite actors in Doctor Who, is in this one, and I believe he's no longer with us.
Yeah, he passed away back in 2008, 2009, I believe.
Right, and so this is a rare opportunity to hear him in Big Finish audio. This is just a terrific story overall. And Jeff Beavers, he's done. And incidentally, point of trivia, he was married to Caroline John.
Caroline John, Liz Shaw.
And they were a lovely couple. I was fortunate enough to know them before Caroline passed.
Stop dropping names.
I can't help it. I've been in fandom so long, I know everyone. Okay.
So, Nikki, you mentioned Sympathy for the Devil earlier for the Doctor Who Unbound range. If you've never heard of Big Finish before, you're not interested in the continuity, you just want a good example of what Big Finish does and the kind of what audio drama is capable of, this is the story to go to. David Warner as an unbound third Doctor arriving in Hong Kong on the eve of the handover from Britain to China. Nicholas Courtney returning as the Brigadier who didn't have the Doctor around in the 70s and 80s to help him, who's bitter, slightly drunken in exile.
I seem to remember actually that, that this was, there was a later audio in which they said, oh yeah, the Brig's in Singapore.
Yes.
And it's a reference to this story.
Yeah, but it's got one hell of a guest cast, including a pre-10th Doctor, David Tennant, as the new leader of Unit UK.
Christ on a bike.
Yeah, who is a right pain in the posterior. And also has Mark Gatiss playing the Master. So if you want a good example...
You know he's always wanted to do.
Yes, and he is fantastic. If you want an example of what Big Finish can do at their best, this is a story to go to.
It is incredibly intense.
But
Yes.
frankly, and I certainly think this is the best of the Unbound series myself, but the just David Warner and Nick Courtney working together, that should have sold it for you. They could just, the rest of it could just say reads the phone book, and that would be
Same.
fine.
Yeah, but if you're trying to get new Who people to listen to stuff, the Tennant and Gatiss connection really helps, I've discovered with this one.
Yeah. This is tremendous. We mentioned spare parts. This is still one of Peter Davison's finest stories, although he has managed to top himself a few times.
Yes.
But this
This thing is a stone cold classic.
Yeah.
It is the creepiest Cyberman story I have ever encountered.
Right.
As we talked about earlier, sort of the germ basis for Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, and most recently World Enough in Time, and The Doctor Falls. It's the 10th planet Cybermen, it's Mondas, it's the genesis of the Cybermen. Need we say more?
Well, I will say more. Sally Niven
Of
from
course you will.
Blake 7 is also there. So yeah, and Sarah 7.
Yes.
I agree with you. This is an excellent pick.
It is for me. It's my favorite of the 4 War Doctor sets that they did. It is very much, if you've wanted a proper exploration of the Time War in all of its sort of wonderful and terribleness, this is a place to go. It is an absolutely thrilling set, and Kurt at the top of his game. And Jacqueline Pierce too, for that matter.
I was about to say, best Jacqueline Pierce performance ever.
Playing Cardinal Alestra, who is sort of one of the sort of big Time Lord architects.
Yeah, not that Alestra, the one that, no. Nobody remembers this. There was potato chips with Alestra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This,
Different one.
Yeah.
Just, never mind, I can't say that out loud.
It's sort of, one of the big reasons I picked this talking about Jacqueline Pierce is, for the first 2 sets, she still sounds like she's Servalan from Blake 7 on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
And this set and the one that followed, which sadly became the last one, is really where she stopped being Servalan on Gallifrey.
and she finally
She's a
broke out
fantastic actress,
into
don't
her
get me
range.
wrong, but it's basically her just playing the same character.
And as you can see, there's also Sontarans in, so it's just terrific.
Daleks, Sontarans, the opening story is set in Cold War Berlin.
This really fleshes out the War Doctor as well. This whole set really fleshes
It's
it out.
very
So in other words, she
sad.
should be a guest to come here in the future then.
Yeah, we should get John Hurt too. Oh wait.
Oh, made me sad.
Yeah. We could do it, but I'm sure we could do it, but we'd have to find a happy medium.
Oh.
And the Ouija board. All right. Yes.
I'm going to hell now.
That was the best joke.
But yeah, if you were intrigued by the War Doctor and you wanted to see if it could be more than just, oh, Chris Eccleston wasn't available. Guess what? It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
I should mention. Oh, I was going to mention something about this. Oh yeah. So Big Finish. I don't know. I mean, they don't pay well. They somehow managed to pull the most incredible actors. So they've done series of the War Doctor. Now they're doing the War Master with Sir
Derek
Jacobi. What?
What? I should have put that on my favorites list, because I heard that box set recently, and it is genuinely, it is
I've only heard one story of it, but it's just like, no!
It is good stuff.
Because that
It
was
is good
when
stuff.
when he was on the TV show, everybody was like, no, don't regenerate, no. You stay right there. We want
you're
more of you. But yeah, and not that John Sim was bad or anything, but yeah.
This is the opening story from the most recent set. They got David Tennant back playing the 10th Doctor proper, and in the most recent set they did that came out late last year, they also got Billy Piper back playing Rose. And they've now done, I think, 6 stories with the Tenant Doctor. And for me, this is the best one. John Doherty wrote it.
He's very good.
He is very good. It is a story that is, in some respects, quite different from what they did on TV with the 10th Doctor, but feels very much of its era. It sort of shows of how good Big Finish is at recreating an era, while also finding new things to do with that era as well.
Or rehabilitating certain eras.
Yes.
Not that this one needs much rehabilitating.
The
but
6th Doctor was a big
Camille
one.
Kaduri, she just steals everything she's in. I love
I've met
her. So I'll listen to anything with her in. Yeah, this is a great one. This was another one of the ones that we would have both picked. William Russell, that's it.
Yeah.
Just when you see William Russell's name on a Big Finish product, you get it.
He has one of the best voices for reading and narration I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
And this story is a perfect example of, talking about what I was a second ago, that Big Finish can do something that's both of its era, but also quite different. This story is, you can tell from the fact that it's called The Rocket Men and the beautiful cover artwork, it feels very much like this sort of, the Hartnell era, like stories like The Wet Planet, where they would try and do the biggest, most ambitious story they could on no budget whatsoever.
No budget, yeah.
And this story is very much of that
This
era.
feels like a low budget audio. What? How is that? Okay. Yeah.
But it's told out of sequence. It's told non-linearly.
Right.
But it's also exploring the relationship between Ian and Barbara, and Ian also realizing that he in fact has these feelings for Barbara. And it has one of the best cliffhangers ever.
I might also add that William Russell also does Hartnell. I mentioned this earlier.
He does a mean William Hartnell.
He does a pretty mean Hartnell. What I find funny is that he had to be 90 to do Hartnell, who was actually 56 or so when he was doing that series.
Yes, Jamie.
I don't know how they managed it, but they actually recorded this in black and white audio.
Yeah,
Yes.
right?
It feels very
Who would do
classic.
that?
Yes.
Yeah, and in fact, it's a sin that they made the cover slightly colored. And this, I was one of, this is, I hate to name drop, I'm going to name drop here, because I did actually know Douglas Adams. And
Clang.
yeah, right. So I have to mention Shada, although actually Douglas had a very low opinion of Shada. But I
That's
think,
because he stole all of his best material from it and put it into Dirk Gently.
well, yeah, no, the reason he didn't like it was because he was forced to write it, rather than the story he wanted to do, which turned out now to be James Goss's book, Doctor Who and the Cricket Men.
Right.
That was the story that should have been there. Never mind, long story, I'll do another panel on Paul David Douglas Adams some other day. This has an all-star cast.
Yes.
It is an incredible reworking, reimagining of Shada, but it does have Lala Ward. Wow, she's president of Gallifrey. She's out of East Space.
So we should explain this was done in 2003, originally for BBCI, which we were talking about earlier for the BBC
With
website.
some animation.
With some animation. It was at a time when Tom Baker wasn't really doing Doctor Who stuff at all outside of the occasional DVD commentary. So Paul McGann was the current Doctor, so they got him in. So there's a wonderful kind of opening introduction that lasts about 3 or 4 minutes where they explain that this is sort of a hole in the timeline that now has to be filled. And it's a good excuse for them to basically go back, recast everything. And it sticks very much to Douglas Adams' script. And it is to Paul McGann's, I was doing really well and not popping very much. It's very much to Paul McGann's credit that he takes the Tom Baker dialogue and lines and makes it his own.
Right. And they sort of explain this at the beginning, like, I remember, I think we did this, but we didn't do this. And,
right.
Yeah. So they sort of fudge their way into doing it over again.
Also, episode 3 is another one of my favorite Doctor Who cliffhangers of all time.
Really? Also, I just got to mention Andrew Sachs, who was Manuel the waiter in Fawlty Towers, is playing.
Not Sarah Haven. Who is it?
No.
Played by Christopher Neiman, the original TV version.
Yes, the villain. Yeah.
The bad guy.
Scagra. He's playing Scagra. Susanna Harker, wonderful actress.
Yes.
Sean Biggerstaff. And like I said,
From Harry Potter, we should mention.
Yeah, John Leeson, reprising K9. So yeah, this is a must get, I think.
It's available in the vendor's room as well right now. Top End Gaming is actually a North Alabama distributor of the Big Finish audios.
Oh.
They have this for sale upstairs. If you are itching to listen to it, go to the vendor's room right now or tomorrow and pick it up.
And while you're at it, you can pick up the Tom Baker recreation of the original show.
Yes.
With the animation. You know,
It's not available here in the US yet.
completing. Well, it'll be available soon. It's not
We
here.
hope. We hope.
Um,
Also available in the vendor's room upstairs. We were talking about the lost stories earlier, and of course you mentioned Colin. One of the things they got to do is they got to go back not just to do Colin's lost season that was canceled when Michael Gray and Jonathan Powell went, we're not going to do Doctor Who for 18 months. But they also had the opportunity to go back and explore some of the storylines that had been commissioned for that season and for the subsequent season that they didn't get to do when they did Trial of the Time Lord. And one of them is Andrew Smith's The First Sontaran.
Andrew Smith wrote Full Circle.
Wrote Full Circle for...
which introduced Adric.
Adric, yes. Probably Adric's best story to be honest.
Yeah, he's returned pretty full force now. He does.
Yeah, well he became a policeman for a while actually, instead of a TV writer, and now that he's sort of ending his career as a policeman, because he's now in his 50s.
Well, what's funny about that is Robert, the writer that everybody thinks is the greatest
Robert
writer,
Holmes,
Dr.
yeah.
Robert Holmes, was a policeman before he became a TV writer. Your phone has been taken over by Doug.
Apparently it has. So sorry.
Anyway.
But this was a story he was actually commissioned to write originally for Colin's first season actually, that got replaced by Robert Holmes as the Two Doctors. It's partly a Sontaran origin story, but it's just a fantastic science fiction story in general.
Yeah.
Next story, please.
And Colin and Nicola do a great job.
Yes, they do.
Dark Eyes.
Yes, the first Dark Eyes box set. Genuinely one of the best things Big Finish has ever done. It's a wonderful...
Which is why they commissioned 4 more.
Yes, unfortunately, because this set is just lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's a wonderful combination of the classic series' serial storytelling with new series story arcs and emotional arcs.
Toby Jones,
Yes.
Dream Lord, is in this one, although he's not playing that.
And boy, does it make you feel some feelings.
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
it certainly does.
And
Oh, that's a good one.
Big Finish
Yes.
has also, in the last few years, acquired the license to begin doing audios based on the Torchwood series. And Gareth David Lloyd, who of course we had as a guest here last year, this was the first story he did for them.
It's a lovely human being, by the way.
Yes. Yanto Jones, trapped on a space plane, falling back from Earth, and his only connection to the ground that might possibly save his life is a woman working in a call center in Turkey.
It is a fantastic two-hander.
It is.
James Goss is a terrific writer.
Yes, it runs the whole gauntlet of emotions from
This
really...
is a real tour de force
Yes.
for his character.
Yes.
There are some other Torchwood audios that have been written by John Barrowman and Carol Barrowman themselves. So, and those are pretty good too, but James Goss does the business. All right, mine. I'll go through mine much quicker because it's very obvious why I picked these. John Pertwee knew him pretty well, and Nick Courtney knew him very well. So naturally, this story with them together. But it is also wonderfully sentimental, and yet, moves them forward. And I just
The only companion chronicle Nicholas Courtney got to do before he fell ill, sadly.
right. So it's lovely, and well worth it. We mentioned Jubilee earlier, but I'm a huge fan of Evelyn, and Maggie Staples, the late Maggie Staples, there's one thing we never got on TV was a companion who was noticeably older than the way the Doctor looked at
She is the best companion.
She is the best companion of all time.
You don't have to
in my
dance around it.
opinion.
She's the best.
And also Martin Jarvis, another one of my favorite British actors who appeared in several Doctor Who stories, is in this. So again, highly recommended. Especially this is where the rehabilitation of the Sixth Doctor really took off. Perry and the Piscon Paradox. Ned Fountain, again, friend of mine. But this is his best story, I think. And this is a tour de force for Nicola. She's terrific. They are together now. They weren't at the time that this was written.
Yeah. And very much, Perry's one of those companions, one of the great, as we talked about earlier, Colin's Doctor, not well served on TV, rehabilitated by Big Finish. Very much true for Perry and Nicola Bryant, both his character and actress.
Yeah.
When you can't see the main reason Perry was hired for that role, they really have to give her like some.
They have to give her, they have to give her some characterization. The Chimes of Midnight, one of the best Doctor stories, I would argue. And India Fisher, wonderful.
An absolute delight as a performer and as a person.
She was the first new audio companion because they kicked off the Big Finish line with, beyond the first ones. When Paul McGann came in, they kicked off with giving them a fresh new companion, and that's Charlie.
Yep.
It's terrific. This is, I think, one of the best of the Pat Lost stories, Lords of the Red Planet. This, I would have loved to have seen this. This was, as you can tell, this was a Brian Hale story. It's been adapted by John Doring, and it's just terrific. And it also features the not Fraser doctor. That's the Michael Trout doctor as well. But they're both in it. So
Yes.
yeah, Nick Briggs is all the Ice Warriors. He has to play multiples of people. This one, there's no explanation necessary. Jonathan Morris, terrific writer, and you get Jago and Lightfoot with the Sixth Doctor, and this works way better than you thought it would.
Oh yes.
It's just terrific.
It's just a fun sci-fi story.
This one, now this is just lovely. Paul Cornell originally wrote this book, and it was a great book in the original novel series. Jacqueline Rayner is terrific at adapting stuff, and she did a heck of a job. Lisa Bowerman as Bernice Summerfield. This is the story that introduces Bernice.
Yeah, and we should mention this was the story that launched a line they did for a while of adaptations of the novels from the 90s, including Russell T Davies' Damaged Goods, which for me works far better on audio than it ever did on his prose.
The one that became Family Blood.
They haven't adapted Human Nature for audio, actually. There was an audio
you're right.
book
It was
on
a
it
novel.
done by the BBC
Yeah.
with Lisa
Sorry,
Williams.
I get it.
Not a Doctor Who on audio.
This is terrific. It's a great story, and Sophie Aldred, again, good friend, just terrific. My favorite of the Lost stories from Tom Baker, just Tom Baker and Louise Jameson, just terrific together.
Yes.
They're just terrific together. I should mention the Mary Tam audio before she passed. Tom and Mary did a number of stories together, and they worked together.
Oh yes.
Well, I thought. But yeah, this is another great one. This is Gareth Roberts. I've known for a very long time as well. Sorry. Lisa Bowerman, Sylvester McCoy really worked together shockingly well.
Oh yes.
And again, Gareth Roberts, very witty stuff. And you have to do this.
The Big Finish
Yeah.
50th.
You have to do this one. These are weird photoshopped heads, but hey, we also got that for the 50th
Yeah,
anniversary.
it looks much better with the 3D cover that it came with in this edition. It
Yes.
looks much better in person than it does.
Unless
But
I'm
yeah.
mistaken, didn't they use action figures or something for that shot?
Something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, this is all the guys together, all the doctors that Big Finish had at the time.
Yep.
In one, well, not in the same booth, but roughly in close proximity to each other.
Oh yes.
Tom usually records at a studio near his house because he doesn't like to travel.
Yeah.
But
I thought the fourth and eighth, how they interact was quite
it was
interesting.
really good, and this
Like
story was
Conan
just
movies.
very thoughtfully written. This was essentially the 50th anniversary special.
Yep.
So there you go, and we are right on time.
Oh yes.
Any questions before we go? I think we have maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. Questions, cursings, concerns.
Good, we answered every question. Very good. Go and buy a whole bunch of Big Finish stuff. Again, there's a sale going on right now on the Big Finish website, so if you prefer downloads, cool. You can get a bunch of downloads. The nice thing about them is they put it in an account for you when you sign into the Big Finish website, and you can re-download those at any time.
And they have it on the Android and Apple.
Yeah,
There is the Big
works,
Finish app. Yeah.
works on everything. And yeah, you've got the Big Finish app, which has your entire library that will stream on demand.
And now on vinyl for a certain number of releases as well, for reasons I don't quite understand.
Damn hipsters! All right, thank you so much for coming and listening
Yes,
to us.
thank you.
And did we drop enough names? I think we dropped enough names.
I don't know, your phone looks like it's throbbing from all the names you dropped on it.
A lot of names. But thank you again, and we'll see you around this week.
Yep.
Have a wonderful time.
That was fun.
Did not think we were going to get through.